Say good afternoon. We'd like to call our Board of Supervisors meeting to order. Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir. Chairman, Board will need a motion, motion pursuant to Section 2.2, 3711A of the Code of Virginia to move to closed session for the limited purpose of a discussion regarding the appointment of specific appointees to county boards, committees, or authorities as set forth in the agenda, as well as a discussion, performance of the specific employees, namely the county attorney pursuant to subsection 1, a discussion regarding the acquisition of real property for school construction purposes where a discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the board pursuant to subsection 3, and consultation with legal counsel employed by the board regarding specific legal matters requiring provision of legal advice by such counsel, namely proper amendments, board governance, and referendums pursuant to subsection 8.
Mr. Chairman, at least I thought for the longest time, I know originally this was the order that we had. I thought we did the approval of the agenda before we went to closed session.
You do, and occasionally this gets wonky.
I was going by the,
No, I completely understand.
yeah.
No, that's why.
Do you need a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah.
I'd like to make the motion with a slight modification to allow the chairman of the Adults with Disability Commission to speak briefly to the board. I don't know where that would be appropriate. I would say under new business.
Would that be new business?
How about number 11, special presentations?
That'd be even better. That way it's sooner in the
Yeah.
agenda.
Okay.
All right.
All right, and then readiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Acree,
Yes?
Ms. Roundtree,
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson.
Yes. Now we can go to the closed session.
Do you need me to repeat my motion?
I'll make the motion that we go to closed session.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely,
Yes.
Mr. Gardner,
Yes.
Mr. Acree,
Yes.
Mr. Roundtree, Chairman Jefferson.
Yes.
Yes.
We'll reconvene at 6 p.m.
Oh, yeah. of
Yeah,
course,
you
Francis.
hope so.
The zoning, planning.
We'd like to reconvene our meeting. First of all, we'd like to say good afternoon. And Mr. Jones?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, you'll need a motion to return to open session.
So moved.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Akery?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes.
And now, Mr. Chairman, pursuant to Section 2.23712 of the Code of Virginia, you'll need a motion certifying that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements and only such public business matters as identified in the motion to move to closed session were heard, discussed, or considered.
So moved.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Akery?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. And I would like to have Commissioner of Revenue, Mr. Joe Gordon, to come up and do the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance for us.
Let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for today, for the time that you've given us to serve you. We thank you for the citizens that come out to the meeting tonight. Ask that you be with them, bless them. For the board members sitting here tonight, for the decisions they have to make, give them the guidance that they need. And we ask, Lord, that you bless our law enforcement, the sheriff's deputies, fire and rescue. Be with them and protect them as they serve the citizens of this county. These things we pray in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
If you would please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good. We'll move on and we get ready for the citizen comments. And just prior to that, I have to read something to you all. Citizen comments. This is a time for the purpose of allowing members of the public to present any matter which, in their opinion, deserves the attention of the board. We ask that you clearly state your name and address and/or election district, and that you address the board and not staff or the ordinance. We ask that you limit your comments to 4 minutes. A timer with a lighting system shall be used for keeping track of a speaker's time. Speakers will receive a yellow light warning 1 minute prior to the expiration of their presentation time. Speakers will receive a red light at the expiration of their time and will be asked to end their comments. If a speaker represents a group of 10 or more individuals that are in attendance, the speaker is allowed 6 minutes and the group he represents forfeits their right to speak on the same topic. Speakers may not donate their unused time to another speaker. Comments on undecided public hearing topics are not appropriate for citizen comments. Public comments shall not be used to make political speeches or private advertisements or personal attacks. We value your comments and welcome your input. we as a board will seek to address your concerns in as an efficient and timely manner as possible. All right. The first person on is Howard. I can't understand his last name. M.E.
Mazzell. Actually, he's
Okay, come on up.
he's actually on our, are you speaking for the adults with disabilities?
Yes, I am.
You're actually on our agenda for later.
All right.
Yes, sir.
I'll
Okay,
wait.
all
We'll
right.
call you up. Sorry about that, Chairman.
All right, good. All right, the next person is Miss Heidi Swartz. Heidi?
You guys want a copy? Can we turn their copy here? Like you do at school boards?
It's what you sent an email?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can pass that.
I just have one. Thank you. Then if we do the same as school board. Okay, Heidi Swartz, 18545 Longview in Windsor. Speaking on behalf of the Constitutional County of Iowa White Group, which originally formed in 2019 when petitioned the then sitting board members to become a sanctuary county, and it fell short to only being a constitutional county. The Second Amendment is not a suggestion. It is a constitutional protection, full stop. It means what it says and says what it means. When a county or a city declares itself a Second Amendment sanctuary, it's making a clear statement. The right to keep and bear arms matters here. The Second Amendment is not a political tool, though plenty of politicians love to use it as one. Whether you like guns or not, no one should be comfortable with what's happening right now regarding our constitutional right. If what is happening to the Second Amendment were happening to every other right in the Bill of Rights, people would be losing their minds. And no, there's no other right regulated the way the Second Amendment is. Why? Because it's easier to control, easier to manipulate, and easier to profit from through layers of regulation. Those are facts, but unfortunately many are way too ignorant to know any better. A Second Amendment sanctuary is not rebellion. It's not lawlessness. It's not a county ignoring the state. It's a formal resolution adopted by a local governing body stating that it supports and intends to uphold the constitutional right to keep and bear arms within its lawful authority. Local governments cannot override state law. That's not how our system works. But they absolutely can declare where they stand on constitutional principles and how they intend to prioritize governance, and that matters a lot. When a Board of Supervisors passes a resolution, it becomes an official statement of the county's governing body, not just an opinion, but a formal position of local leadership. In response to Board Member Gardner's email on February 15th to our request to become a sanctuary county, are 2A sanctuary resolutions symbolic? Yes. Does a 2A symbolic resolution violate Dillon Rule? No. This has been settled in 2019, and I would refer you to the Town of Windsor's resolution on February 10th. Are sanctuary resolutions just a piece of paper? Yep, but so is the Constitution and even laws in general. County sheriffs and Commonwealth attorneys play a significant role in how laws are enforced and prosecuted at the local level. They are elected by the people just like the Board of Supervisors. They operate with discretion and determine how resources are allocated within their jurisdictions. In short, they're our constitutional protectors. They matter so much in this fight. Reality, the Second Amendment does not mean anything malicious. Its purpose is to protect our existing rights against government overreach, federal, state, and local. It's the insurance clause to the Constitution. A Second Amendment sanctuary resolution signals to local officials and the citizens they serve that Constitution rights are taken seriously here. It tells law-abiding gun owners, 1, your rights are recognized, constitutional boundaries matter, and local leadership stands firm with us. It provides clarity and resources consistently, and it strengthens trust between citizens and our local government. When your local government stands on constitutional principle, it sends a message up the chain to state government and even federal government that we, the people, carry the torch, not the other way around. Supporting the Second Amendment is not anti-law. The Constitution is the law of the land, and 2A is part of that law. Supporting the Second Amendment is pro-Constitution, it's pro-law, it's pro-people. The 2A sanctuary resolution is a statement of principle, and constitutional principles are worth standing on, regardless of your politics. Virginia was home to 4 of the first 5 U.S. presidents. 7 of the 55 men who attended the Constitutional Convention and helped frame the U.S. Constitution were Virginians. These men played a crucial role in shaping the document of the United States. Isle White County is one of the original 8 shires that formed its country. We should be leading the stand in the pro-Constitution and not following other counties and towns who've already reaffirmed their commitment to the Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person is Robert. I don't know your last name, I mean.
Roger Snodgrass, sir.
Okay.
The pencil didn't write real well. Mr. Acree and I have had this conversation in the past. I'm Roger Snodgrass, 115 Robin Lane, Smithfield, Virginia, 23430. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on the Second Amendment. The person who spoke before me did an excellent job. I chose not to write anything down for this, what I thought was a 3-minute speech. I've been practicing in the last number of weeks over it, especially in what's coming out of Richmond, and it's an onslaught of legislation that is ignoring law, precedent set by the Supreme Court, etc. Years ago, I decided that I needed this at my computer because when I heard people say, oh, it's in the Constitution. I worked on ships. People would say, it's in the spec. Well, where in the spec? It's only multiple thousands of pages long. Fortunately, in this booklet right here, Constitution is, the complete Constitution in this booklet is that thick, right there. It has discussions of the Articles of Confederation, how they failed, why we got to the Constitution, the efforts to prepare to get to the Constitution, and the main part is the amendments, the first 10 amendments known as the Bill of Rights, of which we're here to speaking about the Second Amendment. Those Bill of Rights came after the Constitution itself was ratified. They were ratified separately, and according to the information in this booklet, the Commonwealth of Virginia, leading the way, as we have heard previously, ratified the amendments to the Constitution December 15th, 1791. Virginia ratified the 10 proposed constitutional amendments, adding the Bill of Rights to the Constitution. On the front here, you'll see it says the Constitution of the United States. It's known as the Bill of Rights, of which we're here to speak about. Wow, I'm getting reverb. So, in that, after the Constitution itself was ratified, they were ratified separately. Gotta get this added to my time.
I think so.
I'm stopping you.
The Commonwealth of Virginia.
Mr. Jefferson, did you hear him ask about getting some of his time reclaimed?
I
You want
paused
some
this
time back?
Yeah,
I
think
paused
he
this
can-
time.
yeah, he can do it.
There we go. Gotcha. Sorry about that.
That's all right. When something like that happens, you get on, and then you can't find the right button and you hit the wrong one. At least that's what I do. But I have taken exception, and particularly with my wife, over where it says the Constitution of the United States, where in the preamble it says, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." There's a difference in of. Of means that the government made this. For means we the people did it. We made it for the United States of America. There's a big difference in those two words. They mean a lot. Going down to the Second Amendment that was attached and Virginia approved in 1791. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. If you infringe the right of the people to keep and bear arms, you will not have a free state. It won't be free any longer. And you can say, well, it's just a little bit. It's for public safety. That's pre-crime. If somebody does something wrong, punish the criminal. Don't punish the law-abiding by taking away what this Constitution says we have. We did the Pledge of Allegiance. that flag represents. That's what people see, and this is what holds it together, right here. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, Robert, S-N-O-D.
No, that was him.
Oh, that was him. Okay, good. All right, Mr. David Tucker.
I think there's another Robert, too.
So another Robert?
I mean Roger, I'm sorry, Roger.
I spoke already.
Oh, that's him, okay. All right, David Tucker.
Is there a Robert?
Time on Robert, I apologize.
Robert on there too?
I think you were trying to say my name, and he thought he was saying,
I
you were saying
did.
his name.
Okay, okay,
You're
all
right.
right.
I'm the SLO.
S-L, okay, you're right.
Anyway, Robert Slominski, 15271 Mount Holly Creek, Smithfield. I moved here from New Jersey 12 years ago, and I certainly didn't bring the White Walker with me. I came here for gun rights and country living, both of which are being eroded daily. For whether it's solar farms, overdevelopment, or unconstitutional gun control, I've been here fighting since day one. I'd like to remind everyone here of the flag of Virginia. It depicts virtue standing victorious over defeated tyrants, with, of course, our motto, thus always to tyrants. What is a tyrant but someone who wishes to avert their will over a populace with no regard to that populace? Is this what we've become? A people beholden to those who were elected to serve the will of the people when that will is not being put forth. And yes, I say we because now I consider myself a Virginian. As it is said, to be a Virginian, either by birth, marriage, adoption, or even on one's mother's side, is an introduction to any state in the Union, a passport to any foreign country, and a benediction from Almighty God. Because you don't have to be from the South to be country. Hank said it himself, we come from North California, South Alabama, small towns all across this great land, country folk can survive. Can we survive this? Are people in Richmond even Virginians by birth, belief, or morals? The governor herself was born and raised in New Jersey. We have a lieutenant governor, a Muslim born in India. A senator who is sponsoring many of these unconstitutional bills is a first-generation immigrant from Bangladesh. These are the people making the laws for us. Are these people true Virginians who should preside over this once proud state? Do any of them share our beliefs, morals, and lifestyles? Perhaps a reminder of the beliefs and morals that this state and this country founded upon is needed, quoted by men far more eloquent than I. No free man ever be debarred the use of arms. Thomas Jefferson, a Virginian. The great object is that every man be armed. Everyone who is able might have a gun. Patrick Henry, a Virginian. Free people not only to be armed but disciplined, to which end a uniform and well-digested plan if requisite. George Washington, a Virginian. To disarm the people is the most effectual way to enslave them. George Mason, a Virginian. Maybe people need a reminder of what a constitutional sheriff is. A sheriff is the highest elected law enforcement official in a county. A sheriff takes an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States. A sheriff who has the grapes can legally and is obligated to not enforce any and all unconstitutional laws in his county. Daniel Smith, sheriff of Patrick County of Virginia, has recently stated, and I quote, "I have sworn an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States 5 different times thanks to your trust in me. My allegiance to that oath is unwavering, and your trust in me will forever be cherished and guarded. Your constitutional right to keep and bear arms will never be infringed upon by me or any member of my staff." Sounds like a pair of grapes to me. And finally, to anyone who may need motivation in this fight, a quote from another great Virginian. "Up, men, up into your posts, and let no man forget today that he is from old Virginia." Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Tucker.
Hello, all of White County. David Tucker, District 3. I'm going to talk about 3 topics. And I appreciate what everybody else said behind me, and I'm not going to talk too fast. The new Hardy Elementary School has not solved the problems of parents parking on the road. Parking spaces are available. Who is the problem? Okay? Is it the staff, or is it design engineering that built this thing? Or who's trying to create a statistic? Talking about statistics, let me roll into here. I got a beef with VDOT, and it's not the first line management or the people out there on the road. It's the second team and the higher elevation people in VDOT. This is a very dangerous road. It was at intersection of Burles Bay Road and Route 10, right beside Cowboys. It was not immediately resolved. I had to get it resolved by the state police in August. I witnessed a car go right through the stop sign. I got in touch with VDOT, nothing. Emailed VDOT. 2 months later, I got a call from them saying they're going to have Dominion Energy remove a pole or something out there because it was on a tree. Let me show you, folks. Right there, you're traveling down Route Burles Bay Road, 45 miles an hour. Last posted sign is about 3 miles back. If you're not familiar with this road, you're going to run that. I've seen people run it. December the 12th, there was an accident out there. I don't know if that was the case. It's not on the state police radar. And also, in January, I saw it. That's when I got in touch with state troopers, Sussons and Johnson, and they solved it. They went right into the VDOT office, and they removed that tree. All right? So my response, I'm asking you folks, don't be easy on VDOT anymore. Prime and work them. Okay? So I can't thank, once again, the first line supervision and the people in VDOT for doing what they're doing. State troopers had to deal with me. They did what they had to do. I was not going to give up. Don't give up. This is safety. I've seen too many cars go right through the stop sign. The complacency ain't got no place when it comes to safety. Same thing with Hardy Elementary School. There's people parking on Route 10. And you know what? Let me tell you what I'm doing. I visited Mecklenburg County. I visited Lunenburg County in the past two weeks. I've gone to Richmond yesterday, the State Corporation Commission. I'll do the sewer, the Commission of Electric Utility Regulators. I'm starting to introduce myself as David Tucker, the guy from Isle of Wight County, the county that's banned noises, whistling, in apartment complexes. If that's where your priorities are, I think they're a little off. That's bad priority. All right, now what I want to tell you about this at the State Corporation Commission yesterday, one thing I found out, folks, BESSs, I said it a year ago and I say it today, you do not know energy. You need to ban, the task force was a failure. The energy task force was a failure. You need to ban batteries. Don't entertain these people in Richmond about what's going on. Don't make them think, oh, you're coolly and warm to it. I'm going to go to the PC meeting to express some of these in details. I'm working on my draft right now. 27% inefficient. You pay for that inefficiency in your rates, in your riders. All right? Virginia's planning on 4,000 megawatts of it right now. Right now, the Virginia Clean Economy Act has plans for 400 megawatts. Yeah, 400, not 4, and it's going to go up to 4,000. What I witnessed was 145 megawatt proposal yesterday. These are real numbers. One job for 2 sites, less than 1 person, 1 job. But what's going to happen is the net, it's a negative net. And I'm going to, 5 seconds, I'm going to tell you something. It's a negative net present worth value of,
Mr. Tucker.
yes, sir, $342 million to $400 million. Thank you.
Thank you. William Woods. William Woods.
William Woods, 23069 Quail Covey Court. I was going to talk on the Carrollton, Virginia, 23314. I was going to talk on the Kemp's Village rezoning. Should I wait?
Yes, you should.
Okay,
There's
I apologize.
There's no public hearing
There's
on
no
that.
public hearing on that matter tonight.
No public hearing?
The public hearing's already been held, and the board does not have citizen comments on matters that have had a public hearing but are not yet decided.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Mark Wooster.
for everyone. Good evening, Chairman Jefferson and members of the board. My name is Mark Wooster. I reside at 20832 Rescue Road in District 2. I know you've already heard several comments on the Second Amendment, and I will not disappoint you. I'm doing the same. I come before you this evening as a concerned citizen who has resided in Isle of Wight County since I was born. I am certain most everyone is aware of the egregious and unconstitutional attack on the Second Amendment that is once again taking place in Virginia. We witnessed a similar attack in 2019 during Governor Ralph Northam's term, in which similar bills were introduced but ultimately killed in Senate committee or failed. During this time, citizens of Isle of Wight County appealed to the Board of Supervisors to support their fundamental right to keep and bear arms under the Second Amendment, as other Virginia localities had done. The Board of Supervisors at that time answered the call and drafted a resolution to stand as a constitutional county for the Second Amendment rights of the law-abiding citizens of Isle of Wight County, and voiced opposition to any unconstitutional infringements of those rights. That resolution was adopted on December 12, 2019, and was signed by the late Mr. William M. McCarty, a person I had the honor to call friend and have the utmost respect for. While the resolution was and is symbolic in nature, it sends a message to those pushing these unconstitutional bills forward. It sends a message to the citizens of Isle of Wight County that this board supports their constitutional rights, and it displays unity with other localities doing the same. The Board of Supervisors now has new members with new perspectives. However, I urge you to answer the call once again. Please reaffirm the resolution adopted on December 12, 2019, which would send a message to everyone that Isle of Wight County continues to oppose the enactment of any legislation that would unconstitutionally infringe upon the right of the law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms, and urge our state elected officials to support said rights. Unity is power, and in remaining united, we can send a strong message to Richmond. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Board members, I'm going to ask the county attorney to address the Second Amendment issue.
Yes, sir. Chairman, as the gentleman just said, the prior board adopted a resolution on December 12th, 2019. After a lengthy public hearing and input and discussion by the board, it was determined that there was not going to be a Second Amendment resolution, but instead that a resolution was adopted that we were a constitutional county, which said that you would fully affirm and support the rights ensured and protected by the Constitution of the United States and Virginia, and expressly intend to uphold the Second Amendment rights of the citizens of Isle of Wight County, and that the board opposed the enactment of any legislation that would unconstitutionally infringe upon the rights of law-abiding citizens to keep and bear arms, and urges our elected officials to support said rights. That resolution has not been amended, rescinded, or in other way changed. It is still in full force and effect and means what it says. Unless this board or some other board was to rescind that, it will remain in place. The other is, just for general knowledge, that whether I agree or disagree with the action of our current General Assembly, if the General Assembly passes a bill that is enacted into law, it carries the strongest presumption that it is a constitutional enactment until such time as a court rules otherwise. So the sheriff, while has discretion, a law that is enacted but has not yet been declared unconstitutional by a court, that is not his province to decide what is or is not constitutional. He has the same right to urge as any citizen or in his elected position that he disagrees with what's going on, but laws that are passed by the General Assembly are presumed to be constitutional. That doesn't mean they are, but until the court rules, they aren't, they are in effect. So, but as far as our resolution, we have, a previous board, that this board has not done anything to affect, we have a resolution in place.
All right, thank you.
I have a clarifying question. How does what we do as a county differ from a town or a city in considering this?
But as far as adopting the resolution, that's their province if they want to do that. Cities have a bit more control in that they hire and control their police chief, their police force. The sheriff is a constitutional elected officer. We do not have any authority over how he runs his office. So that is the major difference, that Lynchburg or City of Charlottesville, they can direct how they would like their officers to proceed.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments any board members want to make? All right, hearing none, we'll move on with our agenda. Item number 8 will be the consent agenda. Mr. Robinson?
Sir, Mr. Chairman, there are a number of items under your consent agenda on this evening. The first being resolution to amend the budget and appropriate funding from the State Department of Motor Vehicles for alcohol enforcement in the amount of $12,380. The second item is similar, but it is just a traffic enforcement program grant in the amount of $22,310. The third item, if you will recall, several weeks ago, there was a very large brush fire in the county that impacted about 400 acres. We, on the day of that incident, in order to secure and put into place resources from outside of the community, declared a local or state emergency. So that resolution is included for the board's ratification. Additionally, there is a resolution to rescind that declaration because the incident was short-lived and there's no reason to continue to have that emergency declaration in place. Item D, we do reassessments on a 4-year cycle. That time is rolling around. The commissioners provided information to us after having gone through a selection process. He is requesting that the board would officially appoint Gary Elleens as the county's assessor for the 2027 general reassessment. Item E is asset forfeiture. Periodically, assets are forfeited. The sheriff's office and the Commonwealth's attorney's office have determined that certain assets that have been taken into possession can be sold. Those assets are valued at $201,410, rounding up. And so we need to simply amend the budget and appropriate those funds. Item F, this is a tourism budget amendment, really to make the vintage market whole, so to speak. And so this is an amendment to appropriate funding for the tourism vintage market. It will allow them to purchase some equipment that they have been planning for this year. Item G, Board of Zoning Appeals Annual Report. Each year, we develop a report based on the meetings and findings of the previous year, and so this annual report is for calendar year 2025. And lastly, and I want to say thank you to Courtney Denny and Bill Webb for the hard work that they've done in getting some of the backlogged minutes up to date. And so several sets of minutes are there for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. I got one question. We got a resolution for declaring the local emergency, but we need to have a motion to rescind the local declaration of emergency.
Yeah, both of those are
Both of
in
them in
that
here.
report.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, board members, what's your pleasure?
I have two,
Go ahead.
sorry, I have two questions, clarifying questions. One with the reassessment, when does that actually happen? It says FY '27, but at what point is that study done?
I guess I'd have to defer to Mr. Gwaltney in terms of the specifics, but they are gearing up as we speak, so.
Right. The contractor will begin doing the sales study next month, and by mid to late April, there will be assessors out in the field going door to door, doing parcel counts. And it
So
would
the
take
new
effect July.
values of real estate would be impacted for the,
They take effect July 1 of
July 1.
2027.
What, 27, 28?
27, okay.
Notices will probably go out next March, April timeframe, just over a year from now.
Thank you. And my second question has to do with the tourism budget amendment.
Mhm.
The $8,961 to make them whole, as you said. Is
Yeah,
that
no,
split
sorry.
with the town of Smithfield? Aren't the total costs for tourism shared?
So this is actually for the vintage market, which is essentially self-funded, and I'm saying it's self-funded. The revenues that they take in cover the cost. So essentially, the funding that you see, that 8961, is funding that they had left over for last year, and they're simply bringing that forward because they want to purchase some equipment in the current year.
So it's not a subsidy that's,
No, it's money that they generated, but it was just money unspent from last year.
thank you.
And I'm
for
sorry, I
the-
should have said that up front.
Thanks for the clarification. I'm good.
Okay. Any other question?
Motion to approve.
Any other readiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner? Mr. Akery?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. We'll move on to item 9, regional and intergovernmental reports. Do we have any at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I would just briefly note, I attended the Hampton Roads Transportation Planning Organization, if I can say it, meeting today, and the only thing that I would note is that VDOT noted that round 7 of the Smart Scale program opens next month, and so we know that we've been relatively successful in that. I'm sure Jamie's probably all over that in terms of thinking about projects that may be suitable for us to consider, but just something to put on your radar.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other?
May bear mentioning that a group of us, the board, went to Richmond since our last meeting, and were able to speak to some of our senators. I know this is not regional, but it's more state, but it's intergovernmental, and brought up some of our concerns as a county, some that were mentioned this evening, some things that seemingly are coming down the pike that I don't know how this county is going to fund them or deal with some of the things that potentially could be coming out of the state. I thought it was interesting, I think y'all recall battery storage. They're working to make that a by right. It'll be by right on solar farms, as I recall, the properties that are on solar farms. And a lot of that, taking the local authority away is the way I feel about it. At least that's the way I hear it. That's a big concern to not just this board, but more importantly, our citizens. Another one that during the VACO meeting and throughout the day that was very troubling as far as the impact on our county, at least was troubling for me, and that is how we are going to address collective bargaining and what that may look like for our county. While we are working, I think just not this county, wrestling with proper funding of staff positions, whether it's schools or, in our case, the county. I think other localities are wrestling with that too and trying to take appropriate actions through pay studies and things like that. And the sense that I get talking to my counterparts in other localities in Hampton Roads is a real hesitation to really execute some of the hard work that even some of these, their staff have done to try to make sure their staff is properly paid. Because collective bargaining, although, you know, everybody kind of thinks they know the big word on it, I would encourage people to really look into the bill and what that looks like, not just to the state, but more importantly to our county. You end up doing something very responsible as a county, and then you very well, within a year or so, could be looking at collective bargaining, which is, and again, back to taking away the rights of the locality is a big concern, because as I understand it, and y'all were there too, if we come to an impasse with a bargaining situation, it's a panel at the state level that will give the arbitration, and it will be binding. Not somebody from our community, not one of my fellow citizens here in our county, but somebody that we've never met, potentially up in Richmond, that's going to tell this county what we're going to pay. I appreciate earlier the comments from our citizens. We remain silent a lot of time out of respect for the individuals that came up and spoke, but it's these are concerning times to me. But I thought that was I think it was a productive meeting. I think I would agree. The school funding, I say school funding, the potential to have the tax 1% for school construction. Seems like that might move forward. However, I wouldn't celebrate or think that much, because in this day and age where it seems like every time you turn around, somebody's telling you it's only going to be 1% or one more penny on a dollar. That adds up pretty quickly in this day and age. It seems like daily I'm hearing that whether it's my energy bill, my water bill, or anything, it's going to only be this much more. It all adds up. So I enjoyed the time that we were able to spend up there in Richmond with our representatives, and I encourage our citizens to stay engaged, to watch these bills, to give us feedback. We rely heavily on our citizens to educate us on what we don't know, because we don't know what we don't know. So I appreciate the time to speak on that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Gardner, you got it? All right, we'll move on. All right, appointments. Ms. Roundtree?
I do have two appointments. This evening, I'd like to appoint James Wesley Brown to the District 1 Wetlands Board position.
Okay, that's a motion. Any unreadiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely? Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes.
And then I'd like to appoint Brenda Reynolds to the District 1 Commission on Aging position.
Any unreadiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson, I'd like to appoint Mr. Philip Upton to the Board of Building Appeals.
Any unreadiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes.
I would like to appoint Brian Carroll to the Planning Commission.
Any unreadiness? Hearing none? Madam Chair? Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Mr. Gardner, you have none?
No.
Okay, I would like to reappoint Arlene Piker to the STOP program. Any unreadiness? Madam Chair?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. All right, we'll move on with special presentation. Item A, Mr. Brian Carroll.
Good evening, Board. I have with me tonight my wife Heather and Jeremy Gibbs is standing behind me, and I'll tell you what it's all about in just a few minutes. I want to, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to recognize some very important people and to share our story with you for just a few minutes. And I share this story in hopes that it will help others, and so you will recognize the importance of your contributions to the support of public safety in the county. I've had the distinct honor to serve the citizens of Isle White County for the past 38 years as a member of the Isle White Volunteer Rescue Squad, and for 35 of those years, I've served in some sort of leadership role. In 2011, I don't know if I'm smart enough to work this thing. There we go. In 2011, I was privileged to work with Dr. Steve Julian, who was a cardiologist and then I think the CEO at Centera Hospital, to bring the 12-lead transmission technology to the county, receiving their CEO award for collaboration to implement the STEMI regionalization plan in Isle of Wight County. So you may ask what I'm talking about. In simple terms, this gave us for the first time the ability to not only identify heart attacks in the field, but to also transmit the data from the heart monitor to the hospital and to the cardiologists, allowing them lead time prior to arrival to prepare for cardiac patients that may be in need of acute coronary intervention, saving valuable minutes that may mean the difference in life and death and preventing extensive cardiac muscle damage. I've been honored to serve as the Chief Isle of Wight Rescue Squad for over 20 years, where I've witnessed technology change and much improvement. Living in rural Isle of Wight, and I live some 10 to 15 minutes away from the station, I've also been blessed to have a response vehicle assigned to me carrying nearly all the equipment that the ambulance has. Over my years, I've responded to countless calls and provided care to my neighbors who would otherwise have had to wait for the medic to arrive. Now, I'm not here to tell you the story and to recognize what I do to the system. I'm telling you this to recognize your contribution to the support of public safety in the county. And while I never imagined this technology saving my life, that is exactly what happened on December 14th, 2025. So, on to my story. For the week prior to December 14th, Heather and I enjoyed a week in the mountains of Virginia celebrating a birthday with friends, all of which were medical professionals of some sort. There were medics, nurses, and even a doctor in the group with us. While in the mountains, I had experienced what I can only describe as an earache. I had pain from my ear to my teeth, just as sinuses present to you when you have a sinus infection. It would get worse in the cold night air, and it could be cleared with a warm compress. We returned home on Saturday, December the 13th. In the morning hours of Sunday, December 14th, 2025, I was awoken by constant facial pain, and again that radiated from my ears to my upper teeth on both sides. I'd flush my sinuses and it would go away. However, this night was different. The pain on the left side went away and the pain on the right side never relieved. The pain seemed to get worse, yet never radiated any further. It was 3:30 in the morning. Heather called out from work the next day and we decided that I was going to urgent care in the AM to get this sinus infection fixed, because I was not going to the emergency room for an earache. I attempted to return to bed, however, was restless and could not get comfortable, and at 4:45 I began to feel chest pain. At this time, I asked Heather to grab my life pack from my car, just to rule out a cardiac event. She placed the leads on me, and I'm going to give you a little medical lesson here, and the expression on her face was not good. The placement of all the leads quickly showed an inferior myocardial infarction. She immediately gave me aspirin and asked if I wanted to call the medic. Living so far out and being 5 in the morning, I said, let's not wait for the medic. Let's go to Riverside Regional, which was the closest interventional facility. We'll call the medic if it gets worse en route, right? So I moved to the truck, monitor in hand, and she was looking at it. And as we approached town, the pain worsened, and I began to have chest pain. It could have been her driving, maybe not. I told her to drive normal, and she's holding the steering wheel going, this is normal. It was not normal. The monitor was now showing an infarct and multiple leads, as you can see. Rather than stop, as we were going through town, I knew the Carrollton medic crew had been awake and just cleared a call. So we had them dispatched to meet us on 17 at the 7-Eleven. I didn't realize how deprived of oxygen I was, and I was trying to talk on the radio, and that she was trying to drive and not familiar with my vehicle. I couldn't quite get out what I needed or who the patient was, so I know they were surprised when we pulled up. Just as I transferred to the medic, I had a brief run of VTAC, and if you don't know what VTAC is what you go into when they slap the pads on you and shock you before you go into cardiac arrest. Thank goodness I converted out of VTAC, and the crew began to treat me and administered meds and transported me to Riverside Regional. So these are all EKGs. Once we arrived at Riverside Regional, it was quickly determined that I had a 100% occluded right coronary artery, so I had no blood flow on the right side of my heart at all. So let's circle back. Having the monitor at home and Heather being there was the beginning of saving my life, because there's no way I would have gone to the hospital for an earache. I fully believe the good Lord told us to use what we had and run that EKG. Otherwise, I have no doubt I would not be here today. I never envisioned when we started this STEMI program some almost 20 years ago that I would be the benefactor of such a program. Having that technology allowed the medic crew to send my EKG to the hospital, provided advance warning on my arrival. And what you see in front of you is a chart, and you probably can't read it, it's kind of small, but the goal for STEMI and heart attack in the field is 90 minutes. In my case, I was in the medic a total of 8 minutes, 10 minutes to Riverside. I was in the emergency room for 16 minutes and in the cath lab at 20 minutes. And reperfused at a total of 40 minutes. That is a phenomenal cath time, and it was all because of that technology. The technology allowed the hospital to be prepared. It allowed Dr. Chip Harris, who was the cardiologist, to arrive 3 minutes after I did in the medic and be ready to go to the cath lab. This would have never happened without the contribution of each and every provider involved. I will tell you today that due to each and every person, while I suffered a severe heart attack, I survived with absolutely no muscle damage and was able to walk out of the hospital the next day. I stand before you blessed to be present and grateful beyond words to all those who helped me. And I'm here tonight to recognize by name those people involved in my successful outcome. First of all, my wife Heather, Jeremy Gibbs, who was the medic in the back with me, Crystal Gravel was driving, and the other folks involved were Justin Duck, Jeremy Epley, Caleb Tower, Gus Rankin, Connor Smith, and Madison Love, and all of those folks are part of Isle of Wight Fire and Rescue or Carrollton Fire Department. We had the opportunity in January to present Carrollton Fire Department and those providers with Heart Saver Awards from the hospital. So I surprised them all one morning in January. Riverside's cardiac team came over, and they were all presented plaques. This is the group that saved my life. I am also grateful for the exceptional care provided by the entire staff of the emergency department. And just a real quick story, my times were phenomenally quick, and while I don't remember very much from VTAC to arrival at the hospital, the two things I do remember are the cardiologist walked in and said, "Are his labs ready?" And the doc said, "We haven't had time." And he said, "We don't need them, look at the monitor." And the ER doc had about 6 residents working, this is 5 o'clock in the morning, and he turned to him and said, "This is a good example. If it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, we need to go to cath lab. So we're not going to waste any more time here." And we went to the cath lab. Special thanks to the ER staff, to Dr. Chip Harris, who was the cardiologist, and to the entire Riverside Health System. I cannot say enough good words about the Riverside Health System. This was prior to Riverside Smithfield opening. However, Riverside Smithfield is not a cardiac interventional facility at this time. We would have still gone to regional, and I can't say enough good stuff about those folks. I am truly humbled by the tremendous amount of people that reached out in the following days, and there are not enough words to express those involved, the impact that they have had on my life. And to you, the board, for the opportunity to tell my story and for the tremendous support that you have given Fire and EMS over the years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have one more presentation. The Commission on Adults with Disabilities.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. I want to thank you for your time. My name is Howard Meisel. I reside in Battery Park in the 1st District, and I'm here representing the County Commission for Adults with Disabilities. About 3 years ago, the Board of Supervisors, at the suggestion of the then Task Force for Adults with Disabilities, authorized our Parks and Recreation Department to hire a therapeutic recreational specialist to help alleviate the problems of the adult disabled and their caregivers. I think many of us are aware of these problems. They include things such as issues of physical isolation, a lack of opportunity to socialize and recreate with one another, and in the community at large. The specialist hired, Mrs. Clack, is outstanding. In just 2.5 years, she's created events, programs, and activities that have attracted local and state attention to our county. As a result, knowledge of and demand for the services she provides have increased, and she has to turn away deserving applicants for her summer and weekly programs. Recently, our specialist has announced that she is taking leave. We worry about the effect that this will have on the disabled adults and their caregivers. During the time of her absence, the weekly and summer programs need to be curtailed. Attempts made to find temporary replacement have not been successful. It is very difficult to find a person with the level of education and the required certifications who would agree to work as a part-time or short-term replacement. The hiring of a second therapeutic recreational specialist would help ensure that a similar situation where programs are halted is avoided and that it will continue the growth that we have already enjoyed in the program. Given the circumstances mentioned, the Commission for Adults with Disabilities, along with members of the community, feel that this second specialist is needed. For some time, it has been a concern of the Commission that should our loan specialist leave for any reason, there could be a considerable delay in locating and hiring a new specialist of her caliber. We also recognize that our county is growing rapidly and that new families attracted to our community will include members in need of the services being provided. All our commission members are taxpayers, and we are all aware of the rising costs borne by our county. But we advocate that this second position is warranted by the growing numbers and the needs of this often overlooked segment of our community. We therefore urge the board to give attention to this now and to take into consideration what is written in Matthew 25:40. What is done for the least of these, you have done it unto me. Let's continue building a program that is having a very positive effect in our county. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, board members, do y'all need a break before we go into the public hearing? Or you good?
5 minutes.
5-minute break?
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna take a 5-minute break. right, time to get going. So I would like to reconvene. Public hearing first is the budget amendment for the school construction assistance program grant.
We do county attorneys report.
I don't have anything.
Oh, you got them. All right, Don?
So, Mr. Chairman, the first item is consideration of grant funds that the schools received. As you may be aware, the schools received a SCAP grant, which is a School Construction Assistance Program grant in the amount of $14 million, which represents approximately 20% of the overall cost, as we anticipated today, of the of the West Side Elementary Replacement School. The fact that it is $14 million means that it's more than 1% of our budget, and so that required a public hearing for you all to amend the budget and appropriate those funds to the schools. But this is just really for that purpose, so that they can begin to use those funds toward property acquisition, design of the facility, construction of the facility, all of the actual activities related to build or related to the building or construction of that school.
All right, with that said, public hearing is hereby open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? Hearing none and seeing none. Public hearing is closed. Board members?
Make a motion to approve.
Yeah. Make a motion to approve. Any unreadiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner? Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Item B would be consideration of personal property tax rate. Mr. Gordon? Is that Mr. Gordon? Okay.
Yep. Mr. Chairman, in working with Mr. Gwaltney, he has suggested that the personal property tax rate remain the same at $4.50 per hundred, but he has suggested that the car tax relief amount be increased from 33% to 34% for this upcoming year. The reason that we do this in February is that our tax book for the personal property closes in a week, two or 3 weeks, so we can't wait until the standard tax rolls. So that is why we adopt this rate at this point.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing is hereby open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? Hearing none and seeing none. Public hearing is hereby closed. Board members? Board member?
Motion to approve.
Motion. Any unreadiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner? Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Item C, REZN 25.9, William Riddick applicant. Joel and Teresa Ross, trustees Owens, to remove the existing properties conditions on tax map 39, TAC 01, TAC 026G, prohibiting any family members transfer a subdivision from the property.
Good evening, board members. My name is Amy Ring. I'm the county's community development director. I'm here for Cordell S. Benson, our planner one, who was the project manager for this application. He's on vacation this week, so I'm filling in for him. So a quick summary of the application's request. It is for tax map number 3901026G. The location is 13376 Bowling Green Road. It is in the conditional rural residential district in District 4. The request is to amend the existing proffered conditions to allow the creation of one single family member lot for transfer. This shows you the location of the approximate location of the new lot in the center of an existing lot near the intersection of Bowling Green Road and Orbit Road. And this is the zoning showing the rural residential zoning district, which is directly adjacent to other conditional rural residential as well as rural agriculture conservation. It is outside of any development service district. And the future recommended land use designation for this property is rural agriculture conservation. A little bit of history for this lot. In 2005, the property was owned by JLB LLC and was subdivided into 7 lots. It was rezoned at that time. A proffer was put on the lots during the subdivision that prohibited additional subdivision to include family member transfers. Lot 6 was later sold to W.C. Sawyer with the proffers attached, and then again in 2006 to Joel and Teresa Ross, who are the current property owners. In 2022, the property was placed in a trust for Joel and Teresa Ross. Again, the zoning for the property is conditional rural residential. It is also in the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area Overlay District. And if it's approved, any new subdivision would be required to meet all zoning and subdivision ordinance requirements, and the property would have to be subdivided through the plat review and approval process. Section 3.24 of the county subdivision ordinance does allow for the transfer of a lot of an individual to an immediate family member. That's in accordance with Section 15.2, 2244 of the Code of Virginia. Strengths of the application include that there is sufficient school, road, fire, rescue, and public safety capacity for the southern service area to accommodate the projected impacts from the single-family dwelling. Weaknesses include that the amendment would allow a benefit to one of the 7 original lots that is not afforded to the other lots. It increases the number of residential lots located outside the DSD, and any additional residential units would continue to decrease the level of service for parks and recreation facilities, therefore triggering the need for capacity expansion, which is true for any future residential development in the county. So at its regular meeting on January the 27th, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the application by a vote of 8-0. And based on the weaknesses identified, staff recommends denying the conditional zoning amendment request. I will be available following the public hearing if you should have any questions.
All right. All right, is the applicant here willing to speak?
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I'm William Reddick, and I represent the applicants with the property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Ross, and they sit back here, and their daughter and grandchildren are in the hall. And they're current residents and citizens of Isle White County, but they want to live closer to their grandparents, and so that's the whole purpose of this. This is a 91-acre lot, and the Rosses paid back in the day $11,198 in a cash proffer when they bought this lot. So they've paid their fair share. That now that's not so much the case anymore. But in any event, they've how do I get that? Oh, there we go. I want to point out something there. Your staff has identified strengths and weaknesses, and the strengths, I think, are really important because it says that there's adequate capacity to accommodate this lot. But at the Planning Commission, I pointed out, and I think it's really important to note that the weaknesses are not really weaknesses, because one of them is that this exemption, or if granted, this lot would be afforded a right not afforded to the other lots. Well, none of the other lots that were part of this original zoning development are large enough that they could even be divided again. There's not enough acreage that a family member lot could, even if they wanted to, and you approved it, it couldn't be done because there's not enough acreage. And so the only time a family member lot could be created would be with respect to the 91 acres that belong to Mr. and Mrs. Ross. So I don't really think that's a weakness, because if you do this, you're not giving them a right that the others can't have, because the others can't make use of it in the first place. It says that this would increase the number of residential lots located outside the DSD. Well, I'm not aware of any policies adopted by the board that precludes any development outside the DSD. I know that's where you want to have your major developments, but still there's lots are permitted, and family member lots are certainly permitted and are done all the time. And one thing that I'd like to point out, and right here, this tract that the cursor's on, that's the tract that belongs to Mr. Sawyer, and then there's another tract across the street, and I believe that belongs to him as well. But these separate tracts, but for the proffer that was accepted back in 2005, this property by right can have family member lots, as well as this. So it's, I'm sure it was a good faith offer at the time, but I don't know that it really accomplishes anything and really does much other than it makes it difficult for Mr. and Ms. Ross to permit their daughter and son-in-law and grandchildren to live with them. And so we think this is an entirely reasonable thing to do. You've done it many, many times, and I hope you would see favorably to grant them the relief from that restrictive covenant. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you. Public hearing is hereby declared open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? See none, hear none. Public hearing is hereby closed. Board members?
I'd just like to lead off by saying the Rosses had contacted me some time ago with the intent to do this the right way. And they understood what they had done with the property, but they also explained, as we all would do for our children, what they were trying to accomplish. And, you know, I think it should be bared that our staff, of course, they follow our ordinances and regulations, so sometimes it may come across as a negative, but they're simply doing their jobs. As I explained to the Rosses, go through the process, and at the end of the day, we represent the people, and this board would make a decision. So unless there's any other discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Okay, and then ready? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. All right, item D.
Thank you.
Item D.
Good evening. I'm Shawnee Besink, the environmental planner, and today we are here for the exception 25-9, the Porter CBPA exception request. So the property owners are Paul and Heather Porter. Their address is 3123 South Shore Drive. The tax parcel number is 04B03J001. And this is for an after-effect exception to the CBPA ordinance for a unauthorized deck/sitting area in the 50-foot portion of the seaward RPA buffer. Some background on this property: it was constructed in 1963. The original deck that was fully removed and is being replaced was constructed in 2010. We do not have any building permits for that on file that we could find, and then a violation was issued in 2025 for the deck while it was under construction. So this is just an overview of the area. You go down Lawns Neck Drive, turn on to Woodmere Avenue, South Shore Drive, and right after you pass Riverview Road is the location. Just zooming in some more, showing how it connects to tidal water. And then this is the deck under construction on a 2025 aerial that we had. The red lines that you see on here are going to be the RPA buffer lines. The one closest to the deck, which is in yellow, is the 50-foot seaward buffer, so it is in the 0 to 50-foot section of the RPA. The dashed lines in gray, this area right here, is their proposed mitigation planting area when they construct. The deck right here, this would be a secondary deck on the property. They have a sitting area / screened-in porch area here that is attached to the house, and this would be the new detached deck attached to a shed that they are not replacing. So these are some pictures coming up the hill, Riverview Lane. This was pictures that were submitted of the old deck that was taken out on the left-hand side, and then under construction on the right. This is what it looked like when we stopped work, submitted by the property owner of what it looks like. So for granting an exception, the board has to meet 5 criteria. So the first one is the strict adherence of the ordinance would reduce an undue hardship, and that would not confer upon the applicant any special privileges denied by the ordinance to other property owners in the CBPA. Other property owners in this watershed are subject to the same development standards as this, and so this is not unique to this property. The property may continue to be used as its intended purpose, which is as a single-family residence, without a detached deck that's located in the seaward RPA. Strict application of the ordinance to this deck does not constitute a unique hardship, and it would grant the applicant a special privilege, especially since there already is a sitting area attached to the house on this property, if approved. This property already has, like I said, the sitting area. The second criteria is the exception request is not based on conditions or circumstances that are self-created or self-imposed, nor does the request arise from conditions or circumstances either permitted or non-conforming that are related to adjacent parcels. Both the demolished and the partially reconstructed deck are unpermitted and are located in the 50-foot seaward portion of the RPA. Therefore, the need for the exception is a self-created circumstance. The exception request is the minimum necessary to afford relief is the third criteria. The detached accessory structures are not considered necessary for the single family residential use, which is the use of this lot, and therefore would not qualify the minimum necessary to afford relief. And again, there is already an existing sitting area available to the rear of the home. The fourth criteria is the exception request would be in harmony with the purpose and intent of the ordinance, and it would not be detrimental to public welfare and or not substantial detriment to water quality. The placement of the deck does not meet the purpose and intent of the ordinance, which is to safeguard water quality through protections of the existing buffers and establishment of buffers where they do not exist. Again, the deck is in the 50-foot seaward portion of the buffer, which is the most protected, and the new impervious coverage is not in harmony with the CBPA. Number 5 is the reasonable and appropriate conditions are imposed which prevent the exception request from causing a degradation in water quality. If the exception is approved, staff recommends the following conditions be imposed. The applicant should install the mitigation that was proposed in the WQIA, which is the minimum required for that area of disturbance, and that no further major exceptions be granted. In conclusion, the landscaping, like I just stated, does meet the minimum requirements of the DEQ riparian buffer guidance manual. The weaknesses are that the application does not meet the 5 criteria for an exception. All the encroachments were added without prior permits or approval from the county. The accessory structures are not permitted anywhere in the buffer. Again, this is in the most protected portion of the buffer, and the structural stability of the deck is unknown as permits were not issued and inspections were not conducted. Staff recommendation on the January 27th, 2026 Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the application by voting of 8-0 with staff conditions. The applicant shall install the mitigation as proposed, and no further major exceptions be granted. Based on the listed weaknesses, staff recommends denial of the exception.
Okay. Thank you. Is the applicant present, willing to speak?
Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Paul Porter. I live at 103 Warner Lane in Smithfield, but I'm the owner of this property. My wife and I bought this property for our son and his new wife. It needed a lot of work, and so we got all the appropriate permits and did all the work in the house. And when we were done, in order for them to get their loan, we had to make sure there was no rotten wood, moisture damage, so forth. So our intention was to repair this deck. As I got into it, started tearing off the decking boards, I realized we were in over our heads. So I had exposed the bank, so I hurried up and put the deck back in place. The exact same size, nothing's different. What I did do, and I want to explain, they talk about this shed. The shed isn't a shed. It's a 10 by 12 deck that's screened in, and it was a portion of this deck that's there now. So the 12 by 30 deck that I put back, I reattached to this piece that is still standing there. This deck is essential to this piece of property. For a young family in particular, the bank is a hazard, and I would have to put something up, a fence or something else to protect young children because of the bank. One of the planning commission members actually went out to the property and used photographs to confirm that I did not increase the size or move it in any other direction, and that it also was essential to this property. It's an essential piece of the yard. It's only about 20 feet from the little screen porch that's on the back of the house. It's also essential to the value because it provides a view for people to be able to sit out there and see the river. It doesn't take away from anybody else because everybody else in the neighborhood and on the water has decks. So I'm not getting anything extra by putting this deck back where it was. The county's been collecting tax revenue off of this deck since 2010 and never had an issue with it until I started to repair it. If you guys approve this, I will be going and getting the appropriate building permits, and I will be following all of the engineer's requirements for the mitigation for what was already there, but I'm okay with that. When this first came up to me, I had two choices. I could try to go and prove that I didn't do more than 50% and try to use all the rules and laws, and I'm actually in code enforcement. I'm an electrical inspector and plans examiner for the city of Newport News. So I understand their job and what they have to do. And I decided I was just gonna kind of go along and play nice and follow all of the rules. This has cost me more than the deck cost in order to pay engineers, architects, and the application fee for this. So I would like to not have to tear it down. I feel like if I had left the deck removed, it would have done more damage to the RPA because of all the erosion and the sediment that would have worn into that small tidal area. And just so that you know, that tidal area isn't a huge wetland. It's a little marshy area. So it's not like we're on the river. So I would ask that you guys would approve this and let us move forward. Also, so I can get my money back when I get my son to get the loan. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Public hearing is hereby declared open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Lori White. I live at 3133 South Shore Drive. I am the next door neighbor of the Porters. I am here to speak in support of their application for after the fact exception to their deck repairs replacement. As newer owners, the Porters simply started repairs to a deck that had existed on that property for many years and was in poor condition when they purchased the home. This is not a new addition to their property, but a repair that is also serves as a helpful safety barrier to a dangerous, very steep drop-off. It's possible that the deck's replacement may even help combat erosion in that area, but I'm not an engineer, so I don't know for sure, but to me it looks like it could. I would like to remind the board that Rushmere Shores was platted prior to the Chesapeake Bay Act. I have resided at the property next door to the Porters for over 37 years. My earliest recollection of that property's landscape was a more graduated slope that actually led down to a small pier. It is my understanding that the original developers of Rushmere Shores had dredged that wetland area out, and that property was sold as having riparian access. Without continued dredging, of course, it filled in and became marshy through the years. Hurricane Isabel, way back in 2003, drastically changed the landscape of our neighborhood, including that lot. After the hurricane, that slope had become, rather than a slope, it became a drop-off. The previous owner of the Porter's home actually built that deck to mitigate the loss of the land and to enhance the safety of that yard. And I would like to take exception to the wording used in the county's presentation to the Planning Commission in their support of denying the exception. They repeatedly remarked that the Porters did not need the deck because they had another deck off the house. What was being referred to is actually a very small porch that's off of a bedroom. It's not even enough room to put a table up. As their next door neighbor, I fully support their application, and I hope that the county will approve this for them.
Thank you. Anyone else willing to speak for or against?
I'm Fran Collette. I live at 3149 South Shore Drive, Smithfield. I'm 4 houses down from the Porters. And we all have decks, and we all enjoy the river view. And these kids have done a wonderful job updating this house. I mean, it really needed help, and it's beautiful. And I think we should support them all we can. And the deck is not an eyesore anywhere, and everyone is in support of the Porters. And I think you should support them too. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else willing to speak? Hearing none, seeing none. Public hearing is hereby closed. Board members?
I'd like to move approval of the exception 25-9 of the Porter property for an after-fact exemption under the Chesapeake Bay Preservation Area Ordinance for an unauthorized deck.
Any unreadiness? Hearing none?
But, is that including the mitigated plants
Mitigation.
and the no further exception that, as recommended by the Planning Commission?
Yeah, sure.
Any unreadiness? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Gardner? Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. All right, item E, 5-year comprehensive plan review proposal.
So the next item on your agenda for public hearings is consideration of the 5-year comprehensive plan review revisions that were recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at their January 27th, 2026 regular meeting. Just a review for those in the audience who are not familiar with the comprehensive plan. The plan provides a decision-making guide for future growth and development. It contains a list of goals to achieve the community's vision. In this case, the goals that were established through a comprehensive public engagement process back in 2020. It also lists actions that need to be taken to make sure these goals happen. And for each action, the plan should include who's responsible, about how long it'll take, and about how much it will cost in general terms. It also contains a map showing future recommended land uses in each area of the county to help implement the plan's goals. And also to emphasize that this is a plan and a policy document. It is not set in stone, and it should be reviewed every 5 years to see if changes are needed. Section 15.22230 of the Code of Virginia actually stipulates that the comprehensive plan is to be reviewed by the locality's planning commission at least once every 5 years to determine whether it's advisable to amend the plan. The Planning Commission in Isle of Wight actually began its review process back in early 2024 and formed a stakeholder review group made up of representatives from each of the election districts and completed their review in May of 2025. As part of this effort, Tischler Bice was hired to perform a growth rate study in July of 2024, and then performed another update to the study based on the new school student generation report in November of 2025. There was also a 5-year action plan benchmark report that reviews each of the action steps in the comprehensive plan and gives you a status on where it is in the implementation process. The Planning Commission held a public hearing at their November 18th, 2025 regular meeting and recommended approval of the plan revisions to the board at their January 27th, 2026 meeting by a vote of 8-0. So the 5-year review is a look at how well the existing plan is performing after its first 5 years. Changes could include such things as updated population figures, growth projections, public facility, and service conditions. It did not include changes to the future recommended land use plan, themes, policies, or action steps. This is not the same as a major update, which usually occurs every 10 to 20 years and creates a brand new plan. So I look at our 5-year review process. As I mentioned earlier, there was a working group formed with different subcommittees to look over each chapter of the plan for any needed updates, and that started in June of 2024. We also analyzed growth rate study findings from Tischler Weiss in April 2025, and then we assimilated all the changes into a single draft and reviewed as a group in May. We then presented draft changes to the community through a series of community meetings in September and October, and then assimilated any feedback that we received during this process into a final draft that we then presented to the Planning Commission for a public hearing in November of 2025. They recommended approval of these revisions after some minor changes to you all, and here we are at your public hearing in tonight's meeting. So just to go over real quick some highlights of the different changes that were recommended in some of the chapter. Preserve the Isle chapter, which has to do with agricultural and environmental resource preservation and conservation. We noted an updated number of farms in agriculture based on the most recent Census of Agriculture that was published in 2022. We noted the number of farms decreased from 2017 from 237 to 212 in 2022, which represents about an 11% decrease. However, the average sales per farm increased by 28%, and the average farm size increased from 340 acres in 2017 to 379 in 2022. The total acres remained relatively stable, demonstrating a slight decrease of 0.4% or 356 acres. Shape the Isle has to do with growth management and population projections, and some of the revisions there included the estimated population for July of 2024 is 41,048 people, which is an average growth rate of 1.6 per year. However, as our consultant told us during our growth rate scenario study, we are still projected over a 20-year period to only grow at 1% a year. So it'll be interesting to watch those trends as we continue through the years to see actually what our average growth rate ends up being. So the growth rate scenario study confirmed that the projected growth rate is sustainable as we're continuing to grow now. And the current growth rate is still less than the 1.9% average between 2010 and 2020. Connect the Isle has to do with our transportation facilities and transportation planning. We updated road project list and added information on the expansion of public transit options like iRide. Serve the Isle has to do with our public services like fire and rescue, public safety, water and sewer. And some of the highlights included that the Sheriff's Office foresees the need to establish a future facility somewhere in the Carrollton area based on population growth. The crime rate in the county is still less than the national average. Riverside Hospital will allow EMS to return to services sooner. And there has been an 18% increase in water customers over 2020. Updated utility infrastructure lists, such as new water towers, water and sewer lines were included. And we updated the community energy section with the solar energy ordinance requirements and the energy task force recommendations. We also updated the list and information on the parks and recreational facilities. Educate the Isle has to do with the school system and educational goals in the county in general. And we noted improvements in the graduation rates and standards of learning results. We updated enrollment data per pupil, spending per pupil, before and after school program information, as well as included new information on workforce development programs, school safety, and future facility needs. Enhance the Isle is focused on economic development and housing in general. improvement in the overall quality of life for the county, and the generation of local wealth. We noted that the total number of jobs in the county decreased by 7% between 2018 and 2023, and that can be attributed mostly to the COVID epidemic that happened kind of in this period. Unemployment in 2024 is still less than the region and the state at 3%. 66% of workers still commute outside of the county to go to work, and that hasn't changed. Manufacturing, retail and accommodation, and food services, healthcare and transportation, and warehousing are still the county's top employers. Revenue from tourism continues to increase, and we added an update on the broadband expansion throughout the county. The number of townhomes and apartments increased from 5.6% of total housing units in 2008 to 13.5% in 2023. And the median home value increased by 19% to $333,600 in 2023 compared to $280,600 in 2020. As of April 2025, the average sales price in the county was $415,000. So looking at the action benchmark report that was attached to your staff report, there were a total of 138 action steps total for the comprehensive plan. Some of these actions actually support multiple policies that are also found in the plan, and you'll see those noted a couple of times throughout the plan. 79% of these action steps were either started or completed, and 21% were not yet started. Priority projects noted for the next 5 years include housing needs, a housing needs assessment update, which will tie in with establishing workforce housing incentives and mixed ability housing standards, a green infrastructure plan with a tie to Blackwater River watershed corridor protection, a small area plan for Smith's Neck Corridor, which will focus on failing wastewater and well assessments, as well as an update to the economic development strategy, which will identify target industries for the county. So this is kind of like next steps where we are. The Board of Supervisors, as I mentioned, is holding your public hearing tonight. At that point, after the public hearing, you'll discuss the plan and either decide whether to adopt the revisions or continue your discussion and consideration of the plan to a later meeting. Once adopted, staff will send the plan document to the graphic artist consultant who will make final formatting changes to the document. Once the final document is received, staff will post the plan on the county's website and keep a hard copy in the community development office should anybody want to see it in hard copy. And with that, I'm available for meetings too, questions following the public hearing.
All right, thank you, Ms. Amy. Public hearing is hereby open. Anyone willing to speak for or against? Hearing none, public hearing is hereby closed. Board members?
Are you sure? I have questions for Ms. Ring. Ms. Ring, I tried to attend many of the stakeholder review meetings, you'll probably recall. I wonder with the stakeholders that we each, I think, appointed 2 per district, right?
Actually, the Planning Commission did.
Planning Commission did?
Right.
Okay. So, but there were 2 from each district?
Yes.
Have they had any communication since the May timeframe? Like, did you send something back and say, thanks for all your work and dedication and come to these meetings? We've considered this plan final. This is when the public hearing is going to be. This is what your input meant to us, et cetera. I mean, did they get some indication of the job that they did?
No, not at this point.
Okay. I think that's a miss. And we should communicate to them who, again, attended many meetings, because I did go to some of them, and let them know that we appreciated their input. As a follow-up to that, can you give me at least one example of a change that was made in the comprehensive plan in the 5-year review that came out of the stakeholder group? Like something that they said, because to me this review, and again, it's not the 20-year, plan. This is meant to just be kind of every 5-year brush up, right? Editorial, kind of update, if you will. But can you name, if these stakeholders gave time and came to multiple meetings, we had food for them, et cetera, can you name, just give me an example of one thing that the stakeholder group brought to this plan and was edited as a result?
So we had 5 different subcommittees that were reviewing 1 or more chapters in the comprehensive plan. Oh, I did want to mention that they were acknowledged in our draft plan. So there
I
is a
saw
list
that.
of the stakeholder working group, but as in terms of a personal thank you, know that we usually do that after the process is formal, and then they would all get a copy of the final plan once it's been edited and formatted. But anyway, just to name one example, I know I sat in the Shape the Isle plan, and we had several planning commissioners as well as members from the public, and as well as Jennifer England with our historic resources. And there was county staff from different departments who would sit in these stakeholder subcommittee meetings and provide technical support for the review, and the stakeholders could ask them questions, or they could provide input or corrections that needed, and updates that needed to be made. So one was that historic resources, one of the things that they talked about was the fact that we needed to update the archaeological study and assessment. We also talked about that it would be nice to be able to do some kind of signage around the county, or a virtual tour that people could take around the county to look at and identify different historical resources in the county. We also looked at and updated the agricultural numbers that were in the chapter, and we had people who suggested that maybe in the future that we should look at, during the next plan update, include a larger section on the forestry industry in the county. I think we updated the numbers on that as well as a result. So that's one example. Of course, we had other subcommittees that were meeting at the same time during that time frame that were giving their input on updates that need to be updated.
Yeah, I sat in on several of those meetings. Thank you for that. That architecture review, I know from my read of the entire document, which I did over the weekend and Monday when I had off, that plan has not been reviewed or renewed in 10, 12 years. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you're right.
And Miss England is a staff member, not a community. I mean, she's paid to work for the county. She's not a
Right.
community
Yeah, that's what I said.
stakeholder.
She was there providing technical support.
Right. Okay. In your staff report for the comprehensive plan, you stated that the comprehensive plan would list approximate costs for some of these projects and programs. I don't recall. Can you point to one section where something was costed?
So in the back of the plan, there is a chapter called Create the Isle. And this gives you a list of chapters and all their action steps and policies that they're supposed to implement. And rather than try and give specific numbers, we represented it either in cents for a low cost or easy option to implement, $2 signs for something that would be a little bit more expensive and take a little bit longer because of the financial resources involved, and then a triple dollar sign was actually the most expensive projects that, so trying to give people an easy visual aid in finding out which of these action steps would be easy to implement and low cost versus something that would maybe take a little bit more resources. I know in the transportation chapter, we did have some cost estimates for different road projects that were planned or ongoing, and we actually talked about maybe removing or making notes about those cost estimates just to let people know that they are high-level cost estimates, and that's all that they are, that by the time these projects come to fruition, obviously, those costs could change.
Well, that, and once you name an amount, it's never going to come in lower, right, Mr. Robertson?
Right.
Ms. Ring, is there a legend for the dollar and cent? I thought, given the large number of typos and graphic errors in this document, I was actually offended by the number of those that were there, and I get it that it's not the final document, but I was kind of reading it thinking, I don't know why this is coming to me when it's in this state, but is there a legend for those dollar signs and cents?
There is on page 136. It gives a cost estimate with the cent sign being projects with little to no costs completed entirely with existing county staff and resources. Single dollar sign is projects with cost up to $100,000. $2 signs means projects with cost up to $1 million, and $3 signs is multi-million-dollar projects.
Very good. Thank you for that.
Sure.
Regarding the green infrastructure plan and the PACE program specifically, I know I sent you these notes after my review over the weekend and Monday, but I recall on October 7th when we met as a board about the Alawite County strategic plan, as promulgated by the Board of Supervisors, there was no support to do a green infrastructure plan. In fact, I said I thought we had citizen support to do one, and everybody said, yeah, we're not interested in that. So why in this 5-year review would we not, make a change and take something out that we have absolutely no intention of doing?
Y'all didn't adopt your strategic plan until after the 2020 plan was done and after we were doing our review process. So, like I said, anything that was an action step or a policy, a recommendation specific to the 2020, that was adopted with public input in 2020, we did not take out. But that is something that we should review, I guess, at the next major plan development. If this is a major plan initiative that the county no longer or feels, and the public and community doesn't feel like that they need it, then we can certainly take it out.
So for the next 15 years that are left on the lifetime of this plan, if you will, green infrastructure plan and PACE program, which again, PACE program, I don't see this board or any other board funding because it's hugely expensive, but you're saying in these editorial reviews, none of the goals and objectives will ever be changed. It is what it is. From 2020, for 20 years, we're just dotting i's and crossing t's.
So it's not my recommendation at that time, but I mean, if the board feels like that the plan would better be served by taking those recommended actions out, I mean, that's certainly within your purview. It is just a guide.
Because in the plan, it talks about that this is a living, breathing, dynamic document.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel so dynamic if we don't even, take the leeway to take things out that we don't intend to fund. Just, kind of editorial comment. I'm now going to go through some of my references by page of things that I noticed that I wanted to discuss. I think I've already made the comment that when I began my review of the document, I was underwhelmed by its presentation. There were actually charts and pieces of this document that were very, very difficult to read, text on top of text, and I think I described it as gobbledygook, which is the only thing I could think of. It's the nicest thing I could think of to call it. And I would recommend in the future, if we're going to review something like that, this is the executive body of the county, and I think I should have been afforded, as well as my colleagues, a better copy of it with some more diligence taken to the presentation. I felt like I was, reading a first grade project when I was a 12th grade teacher. But anyway, I've never been a teacher, but it's just an example. So in any case, page 27, I asked about farm statistics. I know they're only through 2022, and you say the Census of Agriculture only updates every 5 years. But in fact, the USDA updates based on acreage and, commodities that are planted, et cetera, in our county. They publish those every year. So is there a stipulation that the farm statistics can only come from the Census of Agriculture, or could those statistics come from the USDA? Because I would wager that the statistics from 2022 to 2025 are vastly different.
We can certainly look at those. We were trying to be consistent with what was done with the previous plan, so that you were using same information sources as before.
Okay, I think we should consider changing the source, but USDA certainly is a respectable body, right? And they do hold all of that information. Farmers, as I know, because we have a family farm, submit those things annually. So I do feel like, it's kind of our duty to have the most recent information as possible, and would ask for that. We already talked about the green infrastructure plan. We already talked about PACE and the fact that I'm not sure either of those are going to happen, although I would like to see the green infrastructure plan. There doesn't seem to be support. The scorecard of what's been accomplished since 2020, you say a benchmark report is attached to the staff report, which we did not get in our packet to review.
It is attached.
It was in the packet?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought that was part of what you said was too much to attach.
No, you asked for the appendices.
Okay, all right.
Board members, I would like to ask this question. Do you think we are ready to vote on the approval tonight, or should we table this discussion until
No.
next month?
Yeah, we're not ready to vote on this.
Hmm?
I would agree, we're not ready to vote on this evening.
Because I think it might be quite a few questions that need to be come to
Yeah,
the
I
county staff.
quite a few too, but I can pull those off and send them, I guess.
So we can get a motion to table until, want to do it, table till
Make a motion to table.
till March or April, March?
What do y'all think?
Ms. Amy, based on the questions she's asking, can we get this done within 30 days, you think, or within our next meeting date?
So if you would like to see a final polished from the graphic artist edition of the comprehensive plan, then I would need more than 30 days. So the reason why that the text was mismatched or the font wasn't right was because I was doing it in Adobe and we were having multiple revisions to the draft, and I was doing it in-house. When it goes to the graphic artist consultant, she's the one that puts all the design and the formatting and all the font matches and the headers match and the figures on the illustrations match and everything. So this is just me making sure the substantial content of the plan itself is correct.
And our preference would be that that is an adopted document that goes to the,
Right.
yes,
So you're not paying to do it.
exactly.
Right.
It's really hard to review in its current state. Don't we have a graphic artist that works in tourism that the county already has on payroll that could do this work?
She
No?
retired,
And we, I
years
thought
ago.
we replaced them with somebody?
not with the same skill set.
Would the board be interested in having this as opposed to just coming back,
session.
send it to the work session to be able to have
Yeah, I
time
think
to
so.
discuss it?
Yeah.
Because I got to page 50 of 137, so I'm not quite finished with my comments.
So you need to rescind the motion.
Well, if they just table
Table?
it, we can put it on the,
We can just put it on the work,
it on the work
just have it tabled and we'll put it on the work session.
Does the school have somebody that can do the arts and grants?
No.
Have they got somebody hired to do that?
This is, I mean, we would have to get the files that were created by the graphic artist and transfer it to, I don't even know if the schools has anybody or not on staff to be able to do this. They
That's
would
the
have
all
the
the
time.
same software.
Yeah.
So
I would, if we can get the questions posed at the work session, then we can come back with a cleaner version. It may not be the final version with the graphic artist handiwork, but get it closer than we are now. But I think that if we take it to a work session, we'll have time to go through all the questions and hopefully.
Okay, you agree?
Yeah.
Let's make a motion to table and bring it to our work session in March.
I would like to make one comment, whoever makes that motion, just because usually I ask for unreadiness. I hope the citizens see this, and we struggle, staff struggles. This comes from people wearing various hats in our organization, having to do lots of different things. Ms. Roundtree brought up a good point. There's probably many citizens who thought this would be something that we'd have a graphic artist in-house that could take care of this, maybe more than one. We don't have that. This county is running extremely lean. It's running lean not just when it comes to the budget, but also on our staff that wear various hats. I feel Ms. Roundtree's frustration when reading the document. She and I talked a little bit today about it. And I don't believe it's pointed towards staff, but I think the frustration is shared by all. And as we move into the budget season, I don't think the frustration is going to get any easier.
Right.
But I thought this was an opportunity just to bring that up.
Okay. All right, with that said, then we got a motion on the floor to table and till our next work session. So is any unreadiness?
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
Mr. Ely.
Mr.
Ely made it. Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Garner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Our next public hearing would be the Rushmere Village Master Plan.
So, this is another comprehensive planning, long-range planning project, subject to public hearing tonight. This is a project that originally started in 2021 and has been sustained through COVID epidemics and staff turnover and lacking Adobe Acrobat skills. And we have been to the community several times and gotten their feedback through community surveys and community meetings, and we are here to present the public hearing draft for you all tonight that was approved, recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at their January meeting. So this is a quick map showing you the study area that we looked at during the Rushmere Village Master Plan process. The area in pink is actually the recognized, identified village center boundaries. However, we did look further afield because this is a whole community that is affected by this, and any future recommended land use recommendations wouldn't necessarily affect this area. So a quick timeline for the project is the spring of 2021, we had a kickoff meeting. That was followed by a community input survey that was sent to owners of record and renters within the study area to identify what they wanted future development to look like, along with what other community amenities such as road improvements, streetscape features, and recreational features they'd like to see in the area. There were 1,323 surveys mailed, along with an online option through the county's website, and we received a total of 243 responses, or 18.37% response rate. Responses in general showed an interest in trails, parks, streetscape, and road improvements, and most respondents generally showed an interest in small-scale, low-density development that's reflective of the county's rural character in both development pattern and architectural design. In October 2023, the community meetings, we had a series of community meetings with a presentation on what the survey results were, as well as received additional feedback through a sticky note exercise where we had maps of the community around the room, and meeting participants were invited to write down things that they saw were missing on the maps and put them on the map so that we could record them in the future draft plan. In September of 2025, we presented the draft plan to the community at another community meeting along with the draft comprehensive plan. There were also a series of other presentations that night, like Fire and Rescue was there to make a presentation on the new Rushmere Fire Station, and Parks and Recreation were there to talk about the Bradby Park improvements that were forthcoming. And then in November of 2025, we held the public hearing for the Rushmere Village Master Plan at the same time as the comprehensive plan, with a proposal that the Rushmere plan would be added as an appendix and adopted by reference into the comprehensive plan. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the Planning Commission did recommend approval of the plan to the Board of Supervisors by a vote of 8-0 in January. So the draft plan does incorporate feedback received from the survey and the community meetings, and it gives a background information on natural, historical, and cultural resources in the study area. And it focuses on form, design, and placemaking policies to ensure that future development, whenever it happens, reflects the community's design features. So some of the goals for the master plan include that we regularly engage community members about a vision for Rushmere's future growth, that we identify opportunities in Rushmere to attract additional retail, personal services, and restaurants. And just a real quick note here is that Rushmere is very different from some of the other village centers that we have in the county. This is the one village in the county during our 2020 plan development process that actually came out, had a great deal of public participation in that community, who actually expressed a desire for additional housing and non-residential uses that would provide services to the area. So that with the sewer line that was coming from Surrey to the town of Smithfield kind of acted as a catalyst for this plan. So another goal is to promote the preservation of floodplains for stormwater storage and to prevent personal and property damage risks, to preserve important conservation core corridors, to protect native vegetation and wildlife species for future generations, to establish an identity for Rushmere through a cohesive signage and streetscape improvement scheme, and to adopt design criteria for future non-residential development that supports the community's character. So some examples of what these implementation steps could include would be, your policy is the county could increase transparency and further engage community members by taking the following steps. One, you could set up a system where citizens could sign up for text updates on county activities or increase social media presence and recruit followers in the community. Another example policy could include the county and community could increase opportunities for additional retail services and restaurants by taking the following steps. One, establish a village green open space area with room for special events like markets and concerts, and develop Bradby Park to attract visitors to include a community center with room for special events such as farmers markets and cultural events. And this is just another example of implementing the plan goals, which this one is through implementing road improvements through a cohesive signage and streetscape improvement scheme, including installing streetscape improvements like trails, pavement treatment, lighting and landscaping, and drainage improvements for Route 10 and Track Lane, which was pointed out in one of our community meetings. Install gateway treatment on Route 10, such as community identification signs, and there were examples of that were presented in the plan. Install identification and interpretive signage for cultural resources, such as the African American School, and install identification signage and markers for cemeteries and interpretive signage for prehistorical resources in the area. So for the community identity and future form, there were logo concepts presented, as I mentioned earlier, at one of the community meetings. We also gave examples of what monument signs could look like incorporating those logos. We identified the intersection of Route 10 and Fort Hughie Drive as instrumental to future commercial development within the village. We assessed existing development patterns and visualized what future development forms could look like within a quarter mile of this intersection. We gave concepts for road, trail, and signage design. The plan can be used as a basis for future project proposals in the county's capital improvement plan, and that it should be incorporated by reference in the county's comprehensive plan. These are just some examples of design guideline recommendations that are included in the plan. We did mention that the village is already subject to the county's existing highway corridor overlay district design guidelines, and that we suggested perhaps some more specific guidelines for the Rushmere that are specific to the Rushmere community, like roofs shall be pitched, gable or hipped, and shall include overhangs a minimum of 8 inches on the main building mass. That's a result out of the visual preference survey that was completed by the community. They really liked the fact that they pointed out they liked porches, so front porches especially. So those are meant to encourage the incorporation of porches on buildings for future development. Non-residential buildings shall have a covered front porch, a minimum of 8 feet wide. The main customer entrance shall be prominent and face the main public street. And for multi-story non-residential buildings, the windows on the ground shall be larger than the upper story. And that's to kind of differentiate between what a typical traditional commercial area would look like versus residential. So next steps for the plan is y'all's public hearing tonight, where you're going to discuss the plan following the public hearing and either continue your discussion and consideration of the plan at a future meeting. And then once the plan is adopted, we can send the draft plan to the graphic artist who will put the finishing touches on formatting and editing and figures. So with that, I'll be available for questions following the public hearing.
All right, thank you, Ms. Amy.
Sure.
The public hearing is hereby open. Anyone willing to speak for or against?
Fran Collette again, 3149 South Shore Drive, Smithfield, Virginia, in Rushmere. That survey was a joke. Everyone is full color, 11 or 12 pages. What kind of architecture do you like? We have a gas station and a Dollar General. That's our village. We kind of like it. We like being isolated, and the reason you didn't get very many back was because they couldn't believe it was coming. That what was written in there was just unbelievable. And one thing they did say was, we want restaurants, we want U-Picket farms, we want event venues, and we have a lot of the same businesses in the same areas. And it wouldn't really be smart to start competing each other. We have college farms, we have the new branch farms for venues, we have the barns at Timberlake for venues, right there in Surrey, real close to us. And I don't know, and the Bay House restaurant was right down there in Burles Bay, and when it got destroyed by Isabel, they refused to let her build back. And I don't know where you're going to put restaurants, but I don't know where you're going to, I don't know. It's just, it seems like you're pushing it to make Rushmere a village. But I don't know what to say, but we kind of like the way it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
How we doing tonight, ladies and gentlemen? Quite a bit of interesting conversations out here tonight.
Excuse me, Ron, state your name.
Yeah, I am. My name is Ronnie Bryant. I live at 14466 Burles Bay Road, Smithfield, District 5. My house sits about half a mile from the proposed site for the Rushmere Village. Gentlemen and ladies, I'm here tonight not to raise hell, but to raise awareness. Also in opposition of this plan to erect such a complex in our beloved, untouched rural area of my neighborhood and in Isle of Wight County. It is my opinion from the beginning that this project has had some problems gaining traction for various reasons as noted in the Rushmere Village Master Plan. Let us look at it from a mathematical standpoint that suggests this proposal has little to no support except from the Planning Commission that has perhaps overlooked some very important facts. Giving credit to only 18.37% of the people that responded out of 1,323 surveys that were mailed out, that's only 243 people. That leaving, if my math is correct, 1,080 or 81.63% that likely oppose, or the silent voices suggest that there is not enough interest here to pursue. I think this alone should suggest that Rushmere is not ready for such a polished project. And if I were sitting on a board making a decision about my county's future and I saw those numbers, you would have to work really hard to convince me to move forward. And I would like to, for your information, the statistics are in the presentation on page 5, executive summary section. I would like to go on by saying that whomever wrote the project did a very fine job putting it together. A bit of an overkill for Rushmere, I might add. But there are actually educational values of the area that I did not know, although there are several more things to consider that were not included in the review. Such things as compromised farmland that is disappearing at an alarming rate in Isle of Wight County due to the new development or solar panel farms projects sucking the life out of our rural, natural county. Traffic studies that support the construction has reached its maximum capacity. And I'd just like to add this as a note, while outside of Isle of Wight County, our neighboring county of Surrey has also similar projects on the board that has Route 31 in the bullseye. This is just one of many to surface as the high-pressure sewage line was conveniently installed along Route 10 that incorporates many family farms along its route. Just something to think about in the decision-making as an alarming amount of these vehicles will more than likely travel through Isle of Wight County to get to and from their destinations. Our schools are overwhelmed with classrooms full to capacity, and yet teachers' salaries barely working or once going to work. Fire and rescue responders that already stretch thin and on mostly a volunteer basis. This is just to name a few. In addition to a bigger picture, Isle of Wight County and the town of Smithfield have seen an insane and destructive amount of development over the past decade. With the already in progress Mallory Farm development, the 55 plus over by Bill Park and behind Royal Farm soon to come, Benj Grant development, Cypress Creek final phase nearing completion, and the transformation of Carrollton area to a mere extension of Newport News Mercury Boulevard.
Okay, your time has expired. Thank you.
Wow.
All right, we got a Mr. Pritchett.
Lanford Pritchett, 5312 River Landing Trail, Rushmere, Virginia. The short story is, I feel like a new kid on the block here. I haven't been here that long. I've lived here less than 10 years. I moved 2,000 miles to be in Rushmere for a reason. I'd like to see those reasons that I moved here stay in place. And the lady that spoke a little while ago basically said the same thing I'm going to tell you about Rushmere and the rest of the county as far as that goes. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It works fine the way it is. When I was, I'm an 8th generation Virginian. I had an off-campus work-study job in D.C. I had a studio apartment. I didn't have any money. Had a studio apartment, 8th floor, was looking at a Safeway across the street, and I was watching a guy come out of the Safeway pushing his cart. And I see 2 other guys follow behind him. They pulled a gun and robbed him and took his wallet and blew him away. This is D.C., okay? Read about it in the paper. They took the wallet, ran around the corner, had a $5 bill in it. They had an argument about who's going to get the $5, and the guy with the gun won. It just taught me at an early age that people are like widgets. You make so many of them, they're not all going to be alike or right. By the time I finished school, I'm the last of 3 kids. My dad changed the locks. I'd seen 2 states in my life by then. And since then, I've been to all 50 states, all provinces in Canada, and excepting Antarctica, all continents. And I decided to move to Rushmere from Colorado. I'd like to see it stay the same. Now, you guys are going to have a hard time, and your planning commission are as well. There's going to be a lot of pressure on density. We don't want density. One thing I was really impressed with is that even Rushmere has a study. I mean, I go to Smithfield, and people in Smithfield never heard of Rushmere. And the study, nobody, and by the way, I don't recall getting a request to get a survey. I didn't get one to my knowledge. None of them said much about growth. Nobody wanted much growth at all. Leave it like it is. But the stuff that you're going to have trouble with, and I'm going to say 3 things. You're going to hear one of them again. You're going to get a lot of encouragement to increase density. Do not give in to setbacks. Keep them the way you got them, or increase them. Okay? 2, make the developers that are proposing this take care of all of their off-site costs, not just what they're building on their property. If they need new roads and electrical or power or infrastructure, that's on them. And 3, you're going to hear it for the last time, I hope. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else willing to speak?
Hello again, David Tucker, District 3, 6251 Old Stage Highway. I'm at the bottom part of that map, kind of overlooking the my friends down there at Burroughs Bay. Look, Rushmere is very popular in Charlotte, Charleston, South Carolina. They a French restaurant down there advertised Rushmere oysters, Rushmere, Virginia. The developers, they follow sewage lines. You got the 357 line, 3 flushes to get it to Williamsburg, 5 to get it to Richmond, and 7 to get it to DC. That's that 8-inch, that's that 8-inch diameter, 1-inch polymer thick line right there. Scrub that survey, and when I took that survey, I identified myself as an Asian woman. Okay, I'm the one who did that. I'm not Asian, I'm not woman, I don't get wrapped up in this identity crisis stuff. It is a precondition survey. Precondition, the choice of nothing is very few, and you're left questioning, well, you already have a developer picked and planned for this anyhow. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, it reads that way. There's also cookie style cutter homes. Have you seen enough? And what is affordable? Please define affordable housing. You can't define it, don't put it up and talk about it, because I see that coming. VDOT's an integral partner of this as being a good partner. They're not a good partner. They have not shown up. I've watched I was giving a VDOT guy a good what for the fun of it, and I was expressing how people were passing right here on Route 10, right in front of where I live. There's a dip in the blind spot. They pass a lot. Sure enough, somebody did it right then. First, address the fire and rescue place in Bradbury Park first if you're going to do anything for the people that are living there right now. Get that addressed. And also, it sounds like a HOA in the coming. I am not an HOA type of person. I'm that guy who wants to play my rock and roll, my country music, my rap even, loud. Okay, once again, get rid of that whistling in the daggone ordinance. What do I get? What do I get with all this stuff? I don't think I'm going to get anything, you know? And is there, Police Secretary, I've already said that, people passing. I think I saw something about farmland prices increasing. Well, I think that's due to maybe some, and I know y'all are tired of hearing me say this solar stuff. You're competitive for that. Most of your solar costs I'm talking about your energy costs. A lot of it's going to the land leases, you know? So anyhow, let's keep Rushmere, Burroughs Bay oysters, a good advertisement in Charleston, South Carolina. Get them confused, folks. And once again, if it weren't for that 357 line, you would not be having, yeah, you probably would. But I think I'm suspicious of their developer or developers already chopping at the bit for this. You know what? I got 45 seconds. I'm leaving.
Anyone else willing to speak for or against? All right, hearing none. Public hearing is hereby closed. Board members?
So I'll step out there and say Carrollton wasn't broke a number of years ago when I was younger. And over the years, I watched developers or individuals put in a road and put 12, 16 homes up, no water, no sewer, maybe a water, maybe a community well. But guess what? Those are things that we're right now grappling with on what we're going to do about sewer to those residences that are now becoming 50-plus years old. So there's a lot of stuff there that some lessons learned in Carrollton or the Newport district. I had a friend that was driving through from the peninsula, said he hadn't been through our area in a long time. And I thought it was interesting because he looked over to Ben's Grant before the hospital was built and said, that's urban sprawl if I've ever seen it. You think y'all would have some plans over there. And I thought, well, that's ironic because that's in a DSD that actually has a plan. So I can remember a number of years back to the Carrollton or Newport area. I remember a group of citizens, staff and all coming together and trying to visualize what it would be one day. And that's where we get some of these paths that don't quite go anywhere and some other I think, good intents for that area. But they did have a plan. The growth came, it wasn't necessarily, some of it was by right, some was approved by this board, not maybe us as individuals, but this board. So we do definitely hold some responsibility here. I mean, without a plan, you're going to end up with some urban sprawl. I don't think the intent, I never heard any intent, then this was even brought up, that it was like something to move forward on or something to create tomorrow, or even, maybe even while we're all around. But in the event that further generations found themselves with developers that maybe were going to do 12 to 16 homes on a road, that they actually have some type of plan that prevents that from happening, and maybe being a little bit more responsible. Ultimately, as they've said this evening, at least my last 2 cents on it is, we work for the citizens. And, when you've got a group of citizens that really want something done, then I think we need to take action and do it. And when you have a group of citizens that just doesn't really want it done, I don't see an importance of moving forward or quickly on any of it. But at least there's something there that further generations, if not, can at least refer to. So I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, just to make sure, I guess, because we've had this conversation internally and I've had it within my family. This is not a plan in terms of an actual development.
Right.
But rather it is a plan to preserve the community that currently exists to the degree that we can. So the staff has gone out and tried to get feedback on what's currently in place and what would the citizens who currently live there like to see remain in place. And this, as Mr. Akery said, is a plan to attempt to do that. If you don't have a plan, you will certainly have all kinds of things that occur over time. If you do have a plan, you can at least attempt to maintain the aesthetic that's currently in place. And so I don't want to belabor the conversation other than to maybe clear up the misconception that some people have that this is somehow a development that's going to occur in the next 5 to 10 years. There is no plan for a development to occur. This is a way of attempting to preserve the community based on feedback that the community gave us.
Okay, anyone else want to speak before I speak?
Yeah, I have a comment. I'm astonished that just 243 folks that were surveyed launched this time and money-intensive research in developing a plan that seemingly isn't going over very well. This study was done 4 years ago. A lot of time has passed, and I think those folks that didn't answer the survey back then take a look at Carrollton now and probably would vote, or not necessarily vote, but comment a little differently. But again, I'm surprised that just 243 people got this ball rolling.
Actually, it was part of the 2020 plan.
Yeah. And
Yeah, the survey, the respondents were responding to a survey that we sent out trying to get feedback to develop the plan. That was part of a recommendation in the comprehensive plan.
along with several face-to-face meetings with the community. It was not a one-off survey, let's go barreling down the road. There was quite a bit of dialogue that occurred prior to that happening.
You know, just the general comments that I've heard, I haven't heard anything good about it. And a lot of the surveys probably show that some of the folks that just rent in Rushmere may have participated. And the renters that come in vacation in Rushmere, I'm not so sure they should have the same say as the folks that live there.
Well,
And the folks that live there came here this evening to voice their concerns.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say that, because you got people that rent places in Carrollton, or rent homes in Smithfield, and rent homes in Windsor, Carsville. When election time come up, those people got the right to vote, right? So they got a voice. People in Rushmere got the same right. I've been in Rushmere for almost 73 years. We have met at First Gravel Hill Baptist Church several times. And the people that came to the meeting expressed their desires. These are the things that the people that showed up at the meeting wanted. Some of the folks that come up here that's against it, I don't think I never saw them at a meeting, most of them. So you cannot, you have to look at the people that get involved in what you want in your district. I am in full support of the Rushmere Village Center. And one thing we're talking about, like Don said, we're not talking about developing a large area in Rushmere. They're talking about maybe a concentrated area. And when you look at the map, it'll show you that it's just a concentrated area. People talk like the sewage line come in that generated this flood. No. If the sewage line hadn't come here, we wouldn't have Hardy School right now because you had to have the sewage line to have Hardy School built. So that was not a premise to Rushmere Village Center. I am for developing Bravis Park. That's what the people that attend the meeting asked for. The people that attend the meeting asked for Tyler's Beach. We have to redo the boat harbor. We need to do that. Even one of the Parks and Rec directors, when they first come here and went to Tyler's Beach, he said, this is the best resource almost in the state of Virginia. And we could do a whole lot to expand this where Isle White County and the Rushmere area can grow. You could go down Tyler's Beach right now and build a pavilion. A lot of people go down there and fish the oyster, the crab. Wouldn't it be an ideal spot? You got a farmer's market in Smithfield. We could have a seafood market down there, a temporary market, and sell. That'll benefit the people in the community and the businessmen. So when we talk about Burroughs Bay versus Tyler's Beach or the Rushmere area, I hope we don't have to go back to that because all of you know what took place at Burroughs Bay versus Tyler's Beach. And right now, Burroughs Bay is not a public place. You got no trespassing signs down there. Down Tyler's Beach, it's a public place where people love to come and enjoy. So what I would say, we need to listen to the people that attended that meeting, and it's not something that's going to happen next year. I tell people, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, but it's what the people want, and that's what we are supposed to do, is try to provide what the people want. Thank you.
I have a question for staff and then a few comments. You mentioned running the sewer line from Surrey to Smithfield, and this area, I'm guessing, was tied in at that point. What year was it?
It was right after the plan adoption. It was 22.
And is this area largely on septic for water? On a well system for water?
Yes, I would say.
Because
Private
the
well
water,
and community
we don't have a
system.
water line that runs
The
up.
county does have a water system in Rushmere, but it serves a few homes primarily along Route 10, and then Rushmere Shores, Lawns Point. But outside of that, most of the community is going to be private wells. The only other thing I would note is, if you all will recall, part of the reason that HRSD ran the sewer line was not for Rushmere, it was to get to Surrey. If you remember Edwards in Surrey when they had their packing plant, that was one of the issues that they had. They did not have the ability to handle the sewage from that plant. And so that was one of the reasons HRSD went to Surrey. Had nothing to do with Rushmere.
The ham place?
Yes.
That burned down?
Yes.
And there's no county connections to the sewer line.
Whatsoever.
And that is a force main that can't serve individual homes. It would require pump stations and a great deal of infrastructure to make that a public use.
Yeah, which I think speaks to my point of, this plan sounds expensive, right? That's all I have for questions for you.
Okay.
Sorry, I know you've been standing a lot. It seems like, the very suggestion of a lot of these things could become a self-fulfilling prophecy and end up costing us lots and lots of money to connect, with with little support. I was gonna ask how many people attended the meeting at the church.
Each meeting that we had, I would say there was between 25 to 30 each session.
Thank you. I agree with Mr. Tucker that the survey was leading in nature. It's like, there weren't very many times on the survey, very many items where it says do nothing, right? It was like, do you want this level of badness or this or this? So I don't know. I agree with him that the survey was leading. So I'm not sure if I like the results or agree with them. And it was multiple pages and you had to pay for your own stamp. So that may have affected the response rate. I'm not real sure what aesthetic we're going for. The picture in the plan was a pretty dilapidated white barn, so I'm not sure if even country chic is the appropriate descriptor for this plan, but I don't know if everybody's done commenting, but I'd like to table the plan.
Well, I would say if we table till same time we do this comprehensive plan.
Work session.
I second it.
Yep.
So, motion?
I made a motion, doesn't need a second, but thanks for the support.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yeah. We'll move on to county administrator's report.
Just a couple of quick items, Mr. Chairman. There are a couple of items in your reports, including the financial reports. We're still going through refining those, going back and looking at historical data to compare to where we are with regard to those reports. And so hopefully in the not too distant future, we'll probably try to provide some analysis for you all with regard to those reports. The other is it's pretty much just a spreadsheet, but it is a dashboard of the strategic plan. If you all have some feedback for us in terms of the information that's in there, we'd love to hear it. We're still developing what that final product is going to look like, and so again, we're trying to keep it simple, but if you all have feedback on that, if you'll just let us know. But we will try to provide you each month with an update that provides the status of each one of the items in the strategic plan.
Mr. Chairman, two questions. Not really questions. One is a comment regarding the collection report for November and the cash accountability report, but two separate things. One with the collection report, I don't know since I've been on the board for 2 years that I've ever seen a cash collections rate as low as it is in the 71% range. It's typically even in the most next recent period to what you're in the 80%, like maybe 86 or something. So I'd like to request that the treasurer come and speak to the board. I've had her several times at the audit committee that I chair and have more questions than answers after Ms. Sly presents. But I would like to request formally that if the board, supports this, that she come and speak to us at the March work session. And answers questions about collections, because I'm not happy about the rate. I think we need the opportunity to have an audience with someone who's been elected by the people and is a constitutional officer, but has so much effect on our cash flow.
And I'm not suggesting that you not invite the treasurer. The only thing I would note is that we're still trying to make sure that the reports that we're doing now is an apples to apples comparison to the ones that you would have seen in the past.
I'm not happy about the collections rate. I'm also not happy that we still have accounts at Bank of America when they closed their branch in Smithfield and don't exist in the county anymore. And I've been asking about this for 2 years, and I can't get a satisfactory answer. So I'd like
Good point.
the treasurer to come and speak to us, please.
Do we have any idea how many people have lost their jobs in the last year that live in Otherwise County? Because we're talking about a reduction in tax payment. Well, why is that? Is it because people are not working? People lost their jobs or what?
Well, I'm not real sure, but combined with a 4% sales tax slide that's lasted 6 months and a collections rate of 71%, budget time is not going to be fun. We don't have any money to give anyone, frankly. So I think we need some answers and to discuss it before we start considering a budget.
So you want to ask Dawn to
That's what
arrange
she
to
did.
have her come to the meeting?
Yeah, I mean, we can certainly, that's what I'm saying. I'm not suggesting you not
I'd
do
like
that. I
to
just
know why
wanted
the
to.
sales tax dropped so severely. I mean, of course, you only got half of a year
So
on the last, but
just
different.
I just want to know, sales tax dropping has nothing to do with the treasurer.
yeah, I
So,
know. I know- I
Two
know
separate
that.
items, so, yeah.
I know that,
want-
but I'm just
yeah.
saying, it was a great amount, that's a lot of money.
So
A
we,
lot.
obviously, we just got the data the other day, but we've been kind of keeping an eye on it to see if there were trends developing. And as the commissioner noted, there appear to be some trends developing. If nothing else, it probably simply reflects a slowdown in the economy. But we'll continue to monitor that.
Because that's just sales tax coming out of White County. So, I mean, it's concerning to me, it's not like nobody's spending money in White County.
If you don't have it, you can't spend it.
Well, you're right.
Well, there's still a lot of Amazon and FedEx trucks riding around out of
Oh,
Wright
yeah.
County, so.
Oh, yeah, and I think that's a lot of it, that is a lot of it.
Yeah, but the Wayfair Act in 2018 stipulates the sales tax
That
return to
carried
the
us,
county.
yeah,
No,
during
I'm saying
COVID, it
so
helped us
there is
tremendously.
activity occurring now.
Yeah.
We would suggest that it's probably slower than it was a year ago,
Yeah.
but there's still a good bit of activity
Yeah.
occurring.
Okay, with that all said, we go to unfinished business. Item A, Bridgepoint Commons.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just verified, so it is the board's desire to invite
Yeah.
the treasurer to the work session.
Bridgepoint.
Mr. Chairman, before Ms. Ring presents, I just want to kind of brief the board again why we're back to this. There was a motion made some time ago to approve this project as conditioned, and that vote failed. But there was no vote following that to deny the application. And under our procedure, a vote to approve something that fails is not automatically a denial. So this application is still pending before this body for whatever action this body wishes to take.
And so I just wanted to give you all a brief update on the Bridgepoint project. On February the 12th, we did receive a revised proffer statement, a revised TIA, and a conceptual plan with a couple of pretty significant changes that I just want to go over real quickly. The first one was the fact that they added a right-in, right-out entrance on Route 17 to the south along its southern property line. And as a result, we did send that out to our Transportation Department and VDOT for review and comment. VDOT had no issues with the entrance as proposed. It met the separation distance requirements. Our Transportation Department did raise a few concerns with the fact that the addition of the right-in, right-out entrance might interfere with the future operations of the planned displaced left turn. That would tie into Deep Bottom Way and Brewer's Neck. And I think Jamie is here, so she might be able to better vocalize this than I can. But basically, it would, normally you would not allow U-turns, the ability to make U-turns to head north on 17 in the middle of that displaced left turn area. So there was a concern that people would have to travel further north to make a U-turn or cause more traffic to enter through Ashby Way to come in to the back entrance of Bridgepoint Commons that way. We did ask for a revised analysis or, a special analysis showing what would happen with the displaced left turn there. And to their point, the developer did say that the displaced left turn. There were no immediate plans to put that in place, and that it was sometime an unknown point in the future, so they didn't feel like that they would go ahead and undertake that. They declined to take that exercise. The second significant change was the addition of a cash proffer for schools. They did proffer $4,028 per unit for a total of $592,000 for a school capacity expansion. And based on staff's quick analysis of the $30 million proposed price tag for the expansion of Smithfield High School, it was maybe a little less than the average cost per seat for that, the 15 needed seats generated by the Bridgepoint Commons development. So I can answer any questions. The developer is here with their representatives, and our transportation department is here if you have any further technical questions on the road improvements.
We can't allow nobody else to come up and speak, right?
If there's no public hearing, this is just if any board member has questions of staff or the applicant.
Board member?
I'd like to lead off by saying that perception is really something. And Mr. Jones brought it to our attention that a motion that failed to approve was not a motion to disapprove, if you will. And it was tabled by this board. I think I voiced concerns that, just given the structure of the board that evening and the intent that I believe it was of the board, that we wouldn't be missing at least 2 members from the final vote. And so here we are in February. Perception, again, I'm not saying these are facts, but just perception. Perception is, you hear it all the time, whether it's just perception, is that things are done behind closed doors, and you just fill in the blanks, get on social media, it doesn't take you long to get frustrated. But this does, unfortunately, in my opinion, have some perception to it. And that is the original intent of the board that evening, I believe, and I could be wrong, was that it was not going to be approved. And here we are now in February with a different board, not the majority, mind you, I give respect to that, but it does lend to a perception that I don't think is a very positive image for our county. And that is all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I'd say since we last considered this project, there have been, in my mind, 2 meaningful changes to the project. One being the additional exit egress on 17, and 2 being cash proffers to assist with impact to our schools, which our citizens have been asking for. So given the decrease in density from the original plan of, I think it was something like 350 units to this proposal of 147, not to get in the way of anybody else's comments, because I'm sure you all have them, but it's my intent to move approval of rezoning to 24-11.
Well, I would say, this development project has evolved significantly since the original zoning approval in 2008, and that's basically when the housing market crashed. The initial plan for 350 multifamily homes has been reduced to 147 attached single-family units, representing a decrease of 203 homes. Additionally, the developer has offered proffers that will support our schools. As I pledged in my campaign, I am an advocate for smart growth in Carrollton. I believe that rejecting this proposal could allow a future developer to pursue even higher density housing for this site. To secure a manageable number of housing units for our community, I intend to vote yes for this development.
Okay, Ms. Ely,
I didn't know much about it until recently, and I have learned a lot about it. And I think one good thing came out of it is when VDOT came in and they decided to put another entranceway in. And I've heard some concerns from Ashby about them coming into their, having to come through their development to come through into that, which I can understand that. But by being the VDOT is approved and says it seems to be okay, and the reduction of the homes as well, and no more students that it's gonna put into the system as of now. It sounds like the infrastructure right now can handle what they're talking about. I really don't have a problem with it. I think I would vote yes.
Okay, well, I don't need to repeat what you all have already said, so what's your pleasure?
I move approval of rezoning application 24-11.
In readiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
No.
Ms. No?
Yeah.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Okay, item B, Kemp's Village.
So your next old business item is the proposed rezoning known as REZ N249. As you recall, you guys continued your discussion on this development until the developer could make some changes. They did present an amended proffer statement that I sent out to you earlier. They did propose a $1,800 per unit cash proffer for school impacts for a total of $63,000. Other than that, the proposal is essentially the same as your consideration from last time.
All right, board members?
And for those reasons that there has been no change, I'm voting no.
Oh, we need a motion.
I'd like to move approval of rezoning 24-9 Kemp's Village East.
All right, and in readiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
We're voting for?
Yes.
No.
Mr. Acree?
No.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. All right, we'll move on to new business. Regional Groundwater Mitigation Program Administration.
I'll take that. Mr. Chairman, the county has been in an agreement with the, sorry, let me get it up here. With the Planning District Commission in a groundwater mitigation. Basically, there's an agreement that if any of our county wells create an impact on other groundwater withdrawals, they have the staff that will address how to mitigate those issues. The agreement has been renewing every 5 years, but every 5 years it requires all the localities to come back and take action like we're doing tonight. They have amended this agreement to just make it an indefinite agreement. The county can get out, any of the localities can get out under the same way it was before, which is if we say we want out now, we stay in for the rest of the year because we've already paid, but come next fiscal year, we're out. So it is just really a bookkeeping issue that will prevent us having to come back every 5 years to renew the agreement that we've been in since 1994. So I would suggest that the board approve entering into this agreement with the Planning Commission and the other localities.
Okay. Board member?
We made the motion.
Okay. Any in readiness? Madam Clerk?
Mr. Ely?
Yes.
Mr. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Acree?
Yes.
Ms. Roundtree?
Yes.
Chairman Jefferson?
Yes. Okay. Next item would be memorandum of agreement between Hampton Roads Planning.
That's it. It just carried over to the second page.
All right. Well, with that said, I need one more motion to adjourn. And I'll make that motion. All right.
We made it before 10.
Amy,
We made-
We made it before 10.
you've got a folder. Do you want me to hang?